A lot of people wonder now, like you said, how is this an America First policy? But let me tell you that it's not just a distraction from America First, it's the clearest expression of America First.
Donald Trump obviously has repeatedly stated he opposed endless wars. He's talked about America First and making America great again. But now here he is in another foreign conflict, this time in Venezuela. So what does this all mean for his approach? Joining me now is Melissa Ford Maldonado, the director of the Western Hemisphere Initiative at the America First Policy Institute, where she leads efforts to strengthen US leadership and influence throughout Latin America. Can you explain to us how this policy in Venezuela fits into this idea of America First?
Yeah, 100%. And thanks for the opportunity to let me do it. I think it's really important to emphasize that the fight that we're seeing against Nicolas Maduro and his criminal regime is 100% strictly about the safety and the prosperity of the American people. It's about keeping poison off of our shores. It's about keeping chaos off of our shores and off of our streets. A lot of people wonder now, like you said, how is this an America First policy? But let me tell you that it's not just a distraction from America First, it's the clearest expression of America First. Nicolas Maduro was the dictator of a narco regime that was tied to China, to Iran, to Russia, that was deeply involved with its own criminal enterprises and drug trafficking. And that was affecting the United States on a whole bunch of different levels, not just with drugs, but with migration, with instability, with having regimes that were unfriendly to the US very close to our shores. So if we're considering absolutely nothing but our national interest, our American interest, it was worthwhile to take that action. We've said this before, and I'll say it again, but the governance and the liberation of Venezuela is an America First policy.
Okay, so
it might not be.
So someone like me would say, well, I kind of agree. I can see why the policies of other countries and the way that they conduct themselves has a direct impact on the United States, just as ultimately the policy of Adolf Hitler in Germany had an impact on the United States, even though quite a lot of people in America First didn't want to mobilize against him. But if that's the case, what does America First actually mean if it still means being engaged with the world in order to prevent the world making an impact upon American interests? How does that actually differ from, say, the policy of Henry Kissinger?
We at the America First Policy Institute, it's in our name, but one thing that we like to say a lot is that America First doesn't mean America only. And especially me leading the Western Hemisphere Initiative, something that I've seen is this administration has been very focused on the Western Hemisphere specifically. We saw this intent reflected in the U.S. National Security Strategy that came out a few weeks ago, which was a very long overdue change in U.S. foreign policy. But for the first time, we're seeing the Western Hemisphere treated as a top priority. Why? Because it's our first line of defense. All the bad things that happen in Latin America and South America eventually will make their way up to the US. It affects us when it comes to migration. It affects us when it comes to drugs. It is the one region in the world whose stability most directly affects American security. Okay. And the president knows that, and he's willing to act.
Yeah, so I understand from this that America First can encompass this. I suppose to understand what it really means, one would have to look at what it doesn't mean. So could you explain to me a policy that the United States has been pursuing traditionally that isn't America First, because in your view it has no impact on the United States, and the United States got itself involved in for reasons that are really to do with globalization rather than the United States' interests? What would you not do?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes, what would you not do? What does America First mean not doing that you have traditionally done? How does it differ from, say, the Bush foreign policy?
I don't think that necessarily this means that we need to exclude any one policy. I think what it means is that we need to be focused on the lives of the American people on American soil. And I think that that's something that the president has done very well. His focus has been...
So in Donald Trump's inaugural address, he said that his foreign policy would be judged on battles won, ended, and most importantly by the wars we never get into. Yet he's toppled a president. He's promising to remake Venezuela. And we just heard there doesn't appear to be a plan for boots on the ground, even though he said he didn't have a problem with boots on the ground. So in addition to the question I just asked about what America First might stop him from doing, this does seem like the kind of forever wars that America First, as a slogan at least, it may not be that the policy of your institute, but as a slogan at least, was set against. Do you worry this will turn into one of those wars which you can get into, but you can't get out of?
I'm not worried about that. I think that the president has made it very clear that he doesn't intend to be involved in forever wars. And specifically in the case about Venezuela, I know there's been a lot of questions after the press conference with the president saying that they're going to run the place until they can help with a peaceful transition. But the president never said anything about occupation or about staying there for a long time. I think the reason that we're waiting on more information is because they're negotiating what's going to happen next. But I think that the president knows that the United States cannot afford to have another hostile regime nearby, especially not in Caracas.
I guess the question is, if you don't occupy the place and you're not prepared to stay for that long, how can you run Venezuela? How can it be run without that?
There is a legitimate government ready to lead in Venezuela. I think that's what makes it different from a lot of other cases that we've seen in the future, that we've seen in the past, or that we might see in the future. The president will be working with the people of Venezuela and their legitimate representation to make sure that there is not another hostile regime in Caracas. They had an election in 2024 where there is real representation and a president won with over 80% of the votes counted, Edmundo González Urrutia. And they have a very robust civil society in Venezuela still in place. So this makes it very different than some other cases that we've seen of regime building in the past.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for helping to make that clear and helping our listeners to understand the situation better. That's Melissa Ford Maldonado. She's director of the Western Hemisphere Initiative at the America First Policy Institute.
Aló, aló. Miren, compañeros.